stanowisku numer 1, reprezentujący Wielką Brytanię.
And the French will face Great Britain. And the Brits line up with Neil Bridgewater, James Mason and Adam Ravenscroft.
Sędzią liniowym tego pojedynku jest
Well, look, Chef, we've seen plenty of the French on the circuit this season.
Yeah.
Not so much of Great Britain.
I don't think so, no. I think Great Britain is a team that can shoot really well, but not always do, unfortunately. But they managed to keep it together here, and they have a strong team, I think. So we'll see what they can manage to do in this gold medal match against a very experienced French team.
Very strong French team. I think the Brits have picked up one bronze medal in Antalya earlier on this season at the World Cup in Turkey, where the archers were shooting on a beach, of all things. Here, though, we're in the fairy tale city of Legnica in Poland. Cobblestone streets and all, the French will shoot first. Compound men's team gold medal match.
Ouais, Seb. 10 bas. Allez, PJ.
Francja 10.
Ouais, super PJ. 10 gauche.
Francja 10.
PJ has actually taken some time off, well, not very recently, but a couple of years ago, due to personal circumstances, and it seems like he came back just as strong as he left. So.
Ouais, parfait.
Well, it's a strong start from the French team. Chef predicted high scores, and the French are living up to that at the moment. Let's see what Great Britain can do with their first 3 arrows.
They have been shooting really high scores in the previous rounds. So. There you go.
Yeah, good job.
Wielka Brytania 10.
Oh, absolutely dead center.
Wielka Brytania centralne 10.
And that's just out. So even though the group size is probably similar to the one from France, they're trailing by 1 point. But 1 point is not terrible to overcome. So.
Ouais, parfait. X.
Unless France cleans this whole round.
Well, they are shooting remarkably well. Brits only dropping a single point, but up against this strong French team, well, that could be 1 point they will miss out on.
Ouais, bien.
Another
10
10
gauche.
there.
Both tens are just in on the left side, so I suspect he's going to adjust his side a little.
Allez, Jean-Phi.
There you go.
Ouais, j'ai vu.
On for a perfect score here. Total of 60 possible in each end. Just drifting out, still off to the left.
It was a slightly longer pull as well.
59 punktów do tej pory.
So maybe I'm just stating the obvious, but he must have noticed that himself as well.
Strong British support in the crowd. Working well for Mason, a couple of 10s in the first end for him.
So you can see that he's wearing his jacket, so it's definitely not very warm in here. I'm not too pleased with that shot.
Wielka Brytania 9.
Well, by contrast, Neil Bridgewater there, short sleeves and shorts.
Yeah. Well, he is British after all. So this might be his summer outfit.
I'll have you know, it was very warm in Great Britain over the last few weeks. But Great Britain trailing by a single point to the French team, but very high scores at the conclusion of the first end. Target judge just confirming scores with the agents from the British and the French team looking on.
I think it's funny to see that there's two recurve archers being the agents for this compound match. So maybe if the rain really picks up, if it really starts raining, Great Britain has a bit of an advantage because they're used to wet weather.
C'est l'aide de même en fait.
I'm not biting, chef. Not biting. It's interesting though, the conditions here are, as you described it earlier on, the light is flat, but we've seen a couple of the archers wearing what appear to be sunglasses. What's that all about?
Yeah, some archers use sunglasses not only for the harsh light, but also to get some more contrast, so they can see where they're aiming even better. And I'm not sure, I'm not an optometrist or whatever, but I think there are some colors that you can put in your sunglasses to make the contrast even higher, so you can see better the difference between yellow and red, or whatever dot you have in your scope.
Well, the British team trailing here by just that single point. They shoot first in the second end.
No, fine.
9, Great Britain.
His first arrow was on the money, and then after that he shot 2 high 9s. So I don't know if he adjusts his sight, but he maybe should. Good shot.
Good job.
10, Great Britain.
Wielka Brytania 10.
Allez, Seb, la démarche, pas plus. Hein.
29 is not bad, but I'm not sure if it's going to cut it against this French team.
Ouais, X.
Well, with a shot like that,
Allez, PJ.
may well be right down the centre of the target there,
10.
tickling the spider, as they say in archery. That's the X right in the middle of the target.
Ouais, X.
This is
Pleine balle.
pretty much a showcase of excellence so far. They've dropped 1
Allez,
point.
JP.
Would be really cool if Jean-Philippe puts his arrow next to it.
Well, just drifting off to
Unfortunately,
the
he
left.
doesn't- Yeah,
9, France.
he's going further and further to the left.
But they hold on to that 1 point lead over Great Britain.
But as we've seen in the previous match, 1 point can be overcome in one end.
Awesome.
10, Great Britain.
10 centralnie Wielka Brytania.
Good job.
Just winced a little bit at the end of that, but worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
10,
10.
Bridgewater aiming to put the pressure on the French team now by scoring another 10.
Yes, Neil.
And that's
Good
a
job.
good finish to the end for Great Britain. An X,
10.
a 10 and a 10. An X refers to the very centre circle on the target. Still counts as 10 points though.
It does, yeah.
Yes. Parfait.
10,
X,
France.
bas gauche.
Francja 10.
Ah, le boulot est fait, hein, c'est bien.
So both first archers from both countries have only shot 10 so far.
Allez, PJ. 9 bas, pas loin. Allez,
It's just
Jean-Philippe.
out.
9, France.
Francja 9.
Level the
Well,
score.
a 10 required to keep the scores level.
Ouais, Jean-Philippe,
And a
parfait.
10 is what has been shot there.
C'est encore à gauche,
And,
un petit peu.
and well, as you predicted, 1 point can disappear very quickly.
You can, yeah.
Great Britain have tied things up here halfway through the compound men's team gold medal match at the 25th European Championships.
Czekamy na potwierdzenie.
It's pretty much a carbon copy of last match. So I don't want to jinx it, but it might be a shoot-off again in this place.
Yeah, if everything's level at the end of the 4th end, then the teams will effectively play a sort of half end where each archer shoots 1 arrow. We saw that in the women's compound team event a little bit earlier on, where Turkey just pipped Italy at the post in the tiebreaker. And we're all square here halfway through the men's compound team event here in Poland. You get a good close-up of, we were talking about the sight earlier on, Chef.
Yeah.
They're tailor-made, these bows. The foundations are the same, but then
Yeah,
they tailor-made
so
them.
I think pretty much all of the things in their equipment is just production stuff. So it's all stuff that you can also buy as a leisure archer, but the mix of all of it is really personal. So it has to do some with sponsorships, but I think any self-respecting archer will see with which material they shoot the best, and then see if they can get something out of it. And first of all, being as many 10s as possible. So you want to have a setup that you can shoot the most points with, and then you can see if you can find some support from the companies that you shoot for.
Our line judge there declaring that the field is clear and safe to shoot. We're at the halfway stage, and
France have an arrow degraded, as it seems.
Yeah,
they're now trailing by 1.
So that 1 point lead they had, well, we thought it had evaporated to leave them level, but on the count back, France have had a arrow degraded by a point.
C'est
Great
pas
Britain
loin du
lead.
X à gauche.
And that's why the French are shooting first. The trailing team will always shoot first in archery.
Ouais, super. X en bas. Allez, Jean-Philippe.
10, France.
10, Francja.
Allez, tu vas à l'essentiel. Ok, c'est bon, c'est sur le,
Just next to line.
sur le cordon à 2 heures.
Dziesięć,
We've
Francja.
had it confirmed that it was the 4th arrow in the second end that was downgraded to a 9 for the French.
Just over, and that's the first one he missed in this final. And I'm saying missed, but for a compound archer, shooting a 9 in this situation often feels like a miss.
It's incredible the consistency of the world's top archers. That 10 ring, the outer 10 ring, is no bigger than the size of an apple, and they're hitting it on a consistent basis from 50 meters.
So we get a nice look on the release aid, which is also a thing that compound shooters use and recurve archers don't, because they're not allowed to. A compound archer has a device in his hand, his or her hand, where they can press a button, or they can have a hinge type of system, which means that they don't have their fingers on the actual string anymore, and get an even more consistent shot. Very uncharacteristic.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the British arrows, all 3 were in the 9s and spread around the 9 ring. That one drifting well out into the 8 ring for the French. And perhaps that downgraded arrow has started to play its part in this match.
9 bas droite. Allez, hein.
9 wrongs.
Francja 9.
Allez, Jean-Philippe.
Well, inside 15 seconds left to shoot here for the French.
I think that's just out.
9
Allez, en bas à gauche encore.
Francja 9.
So this might be what I was saying before, that the rain is starting to pick up and the GBR is benefit.
Well, all 9s in the first half. Another 9 to start this one off.
Wielka Brytania 9.
You have to admit they're consistent.
Good job.
There you go. That's a good 10.
10. Great Britain.
10. Wielka Brytania.
Well, a 10 required from Neil Bridgewater here to maintain that 1-point lead. Drifting up into the 9, so we're level again, Chef. The umbrellas are out here. The rain, as you said, was on its way. It certainly started to fall. It's not heavy at the moment, but how will this play its part in the final end here of the compound men's team event?
Well, it's only a slight drizzle, but it seems like it's really annoying in the way that you get really wet from it, and that will play its part in your release slipping in your hand, or your bow grip not feeling comfortable anymore, or your glasses being wet. So it just brings a couple extra challenges to the shooting.
But you know, all jokes aside here, and both teams will be used to shooting in the rain.
You would say so, yeah.
Allez, on se projette pas, on fait du flèche par flèche.
But you can see that the rain jackets are out and the towels are out.
Allez les gars,
So
c'est pour vous ça. Hein.
you still want to be as dry as possible.
Do you want one?
Like I said before, it's just an extra
Neil.
element to the competition.
Get Neil.
But I'm sure they check the weather forecast and they prepared
Neil
for
doesn't
it.
get one.
W ostatniej serii jako pierwsza strzelać będzie
C'est pas grave, on verra ça après.
172.
Well, here we go. The line judge has declared the range safe to shoot, and France will shoot
Allez,
first
mec,
here. 6 arrows from each team to decide the gold medal here in Legnica.
Judging holding the line. So I guess we'll wait a little longer.
We had declared the range safe, so there's an issue down at the target end of the range. And it looks like they're just checking the scores again. Remember, the French were downgraded by a single point in the second end.
Les aléas du direct.
I'm still not completely sure which arrow would have been degraded, because
Ladies and gentlemen, we stop
Yeah, there
at
you
this
go.
moment because there seems to be some misunderstanding about the score. We come back as soon as we know.
Well,
the
now
result.
it's switched around
merci.
for the French team. They benefit from a downgrade from the British team.
no, I think the French team has got their point back,
And that means in this case that France has
because
1 point
previously
more,
the
and
second
Great
end
Britain
said it
is
was a
starting
57,
to
now it says it's 58.
Right, yeah. So
So a slight mistake from the scorers or maybe the judge, but everything should be fine again now, and that just means that GBR is gonna start off this end. And like I said before, they can really put the pressure on now because they're only trailing by 1 point, which is still possible.
yeah, so an unusual set of circumstances here in Legnica. The French had an arrow downgraded in the second end, which put Great Britain in the lead. They've had that point restored. This all went on behind the scenes. I don't think even the archers knew about it.
I'm not sure.
So the French lead by a single point. Final end 6 arrows. Great Britain trailing by 1.
Good job.
Wielka Brytania
Same
10.
again.
In almost all of his shots, and Jason's shots, or James made his shots, he stepped off the line before the arrow was in the target. So it seems like he trusts his instinct in the moment of release. He just steps off and hopes for the best.
A lot of confidence from Mason. The Bridgewater here also shooting very well, just tickling the X-ring.
Wielka Brytania centralnie 10.
Sebastian's last arrow was an 8, so he
Oui,
wants to
parfait.
recover from it, and he does.
Allez, PJ. Hein.
Francja 10.
Allez, tu vas bien au bout. Hein. C'est pas grave, au moins c'est dans l'action. Ouais, bien.
This
Allez,
experienced
JP.
French team, they have a bit of wiggle room, 2 points.
Elle est presque X à 2 heures.
Potential lead for the French team.
Allez, solide, JP.
And very, very consistent arrows there from the French.
So they capitalize on the point that they were given back, and now lead by 2 points with 3 arrows to go.
Good job, James.
Wow, another great 10 there from James Mason.
Wielka Brytania 10 centralnie.
That's a close one.
Very close. That's probably going to go to a measure.
Pretty much impossible for us to say at this point.
10.
You see that sort of deep breath before he starts shooting.
Well, pretty consistent from Great Britain. The 3 arrows all marked as 10s.
Good job.
Wondering whether there might be a measure on that.
Yeah, that second arrow might just be out, so I think there should be an asterisk there. Another 8.
Drifting out to the left.
Francja 8.
That's good.
And
Good job.
Pretty much the same spot as well. Left low.
the door open for Great Britain. Maximum required from the French here in the last 2 arrows, just to draw level.
9 en bas à gauche.
It's a 9.
Allez,
So now
JP.
it all depends on the arrow that Adam Ravenscroft shot.
Yeah, it's a 10 required
Allez,
bare
JP.
minimum for France. That will put them on
Solide, bien dans
230,
l'action.
but we suspect that Great Britain will have their 5th arrow measured.
No, it's definite.
That's a win for Great Britain. A countback is not required because the French, well, they dropped the ball a little bit there in the last 3 arrows, and Great Britain are the European champions.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff there. We saw an interesting one in the women's compound team. I don't think either of us predicted the end of that match there. The French are so experienced,
Yeah.
but gave away a lead.
I think those 2 8s from the French team were unexpected, to say the least, and they really made the difference that GBR needed to get this win.
Well, you joked that the rain would play a part for the British team. It certainly has done, but you have to say, French, with all their experience, gave it away in the end. Great Britain will be crowned the European champions.
Yeah.
He shot so well, as did Neil Bridgewater. Fantastically calm and composed. As you were saying, Chef, the confidence exuded from James Mason, and he shot first, and I think that bled through the team, didn't it?
Yeah, he was not only of impressive stature, but he is also impressively calm in this match, and he shot really well. And he hit his opponent, apparently, as I just saw on the footage. But I'm sure he didn't do that on purpose.
So you can see that the rain was playing its part in the match, and wow, the French will not be happy, but Great Britain will be on top of the podium a little bit later on here in Poland. And a fist bump from Neil Bridgewater to James Mason. And those two, along with Adam Ravenscroft, will be picking up gold here in Poland.
GBR had one low end, I would say, from 55 points. For the rest, they've been, yeah, really consistent and really good. I have to say I'm really impressed by their performance.
Well, here is confirmation. Great Britain will be picking up gold later on today. The French will have to settle for the silver medal. And Croatia will be out there on the podium to pick up the bronze. So that's our two team events sorted out. Now it's time for something a little different, Chef.